now they can hear you.
Now,
exciting.
excellent. I just like to know it. I don't mind whether people can hear me or not. I just like to know.
Yeah, it's good that
Whether
you
or
can
not
see me as well, by the way, isn't it?
Yes,
I think that makes a
one of the
difference.
things. Yes, one of the things I wanted to talk about, because last week in this preamble bit, I was faffing around with them post-it notes, sticking them over my own image, because I get confused if I can see myself.
All right.
But that was on. We were in Meet, weren't we?
Yes.
But on
Google.
Zoom, you got an option to completely hide your own image. So I haven't had to do that this week. So I've completely hidden my own image. I've just got you, and it's much better.
Good.
I'm just saying that.
I'm pleased about that. Oh, we've got
From that
2
point of
viewers.
view. Although the post-it notes did work as well.
Oh, Alex is saying, do you have the topic of the week graphic from Steve? No, I do not, Alex. I completely forgot about that. So Steve, if you're watching, sorry matey, my fault. But to be fair, I did go to the LGBTQ plus network meeting, so I didn't have a lot of time today. Yeah, it's my excuse. So Alex is now actively ignoring me on Teams. That's good. I have my Twitter. Have you tweeted out yet that we've got a wonderful stream today? Alex has said, clearly the reason why I am not in this stream is because I finished all my day work well before the deadline. Official sources stated that this is false and misleading.
Well, there we go.
Yeah, Twitter is full of making fun of Donald Trump. This is good. We like me. The
We
real
don't like
reason.
making fun of people if it's going to hurt them. And I expect Donald Trump's not in the best place right now. I think people should be a bit kinder.
Right, let's stop talking about politics.
Yeah, we'll move away from politics. And I would just like to say that I did not by that mean to imply any support or otherwise of any political party in any country. I just think people should be nice.
People should be nice. Not being nice is not nice.
Indeed. It's nice
Right.
to be nice.
It is nice to be nice.
It's cool to be kind.
Yes. Well, yeah, this is exciting.
Yes,
I'm having
going...
to resist pressing buttons.
You and Alex are as bad as each other, seriously.
It's like,
With your fanciness. I am actually just going to disappear for 2 seconds. And
That's
then I'm going to
fine.
come back.
okay, I will talk to stream. In fact, I will sing to stream. Because there's no one here, so it doesn't really... We walk alone in the shadow. And when we are going to the forest, la 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 la. If you have just checked in, apologies for the terrible singing work. Seem to be operating all full horsepowers. This is really, really excellent. Da, 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 da. Da, da, da. Naomi? Oh, what the heck? What's happened to the... Oh, you can't hear me, can you? Hello, Naomi. Welcome back.
Hello.
Hello. I'm gonna have to... The notes changed. There's like a big white page gap taken out.
What?
Yeah, have a look. I don't know what the hell
I am
happened.
looking at them. Where is there a big
So we've
white
got
cap?
Tim to introduce the live stream is the beginning. That's on
Yeah.
the first page, and then there's another page.
It's not like that on my view, so I don't know what you've done to yours.
Alexander's done it.
Alec hasn't got access to the document, so
he's
it's a
in
bit
it.
harsh to blame him.
He's in it. He said, could we have a rough time scale? No, we can't have a rough time scale, Alex. Fix the bloody notes.
What?
Yeah. Have you not got the review? Oh, wait, if I just do that.
Tim, I've no idea what you're talking about. Alex hasn't got access to the live stream plan.
He has had, because he made a review. A review comment.
Are we looking at the same document?
No. I'm looking
Clearly
at the one
not.
that was modified 34 minutes ago by someone. You are in it. Yeah, you are in it. You've got this document open.
It's based on a previous document, so maybe Alex put the comment on a previous document. He's not got access to this document.
Oh, good, okay. We don't want that pesky Alex.
You can't
in
blame
everything.
him for the
course I
fact that
can.
you have done something to the formatting of yours, because it looks fine on my screen.
Of course I can blame him. That's the whole point. Oh. Anyway, we just decided, just for a notification of anybody who is watching, Alex is becoming too popular and he's turning into the face of the University of Derby. So we've substituted him this particular match, and he's unhappy about it. But I will take questions from football journalists now. Naomi, have you got any questions about Alex not playing today?
Yes, are you implying that you've substituted the popular Alex for the less popular Naomi?
Oh shit!
Because I object to that.
Oh,
Thank
no.
you very much.
Oh, I dug a hole for myself there, didn't
You
I?
did.
Yeah.
You did.
Oh, no, we
dug
substituted
it,
Alex for me.
And you jumped straight in.
No, I'm the megalomaniac manager who wants to play himself. Yeah, I'm like the player manager. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway. He's not made a comment yet, but that's good. I don't think he's listening.
No,
Oh.
probably for the best.
So, do you know any things that you can cook with fenugreek?
No. You'll
No?
have to Google it.
It's really
I don't think I've ever used it.
It's really popular in the Middle East.
If you are enjoying it, then I might have to get some and look up.
Well, I could give you some because we've got a kilogram.
I was gonna. Well, I did think that, but then you'd have to post it, and that
yeah.
might look a bit odd. They always ask you in the post office, don't they, what's inside?
Oh.
But you can take it like as a supplement,
Huh?
so it must have benefits. As people, you can buy,
Fenugreek?
supplements.
No?
I've just looked on a popular search engine.
DuckDuckGo.
Not that one.
Bing.
No.
Ask
It's the one that starts with a G and ends in oogle.
Gabaroogle.
Ask Jeeves. I remember Ask Jeeves, and then
Yeah,
it
that
became
was
just
awesome.
Ask, didn't it?
Yeah, and then you had like a start page as well in the Netherlands. It was literally called Startpagina, which is like starting page. And people literally edited all the links to all the websites in the Netherlands that they knew about. So it was all categories, subcategories, sub-subcategories, sub-sub-subcategories. So let's say you were looking for a website about a dog, you could go to the category animals, and then you could go to the category pets, and then you could go to the category dogs.
That sounds like it was right up your street.
It was awesome, and the poor people who did that work were actually librarians, believe it or not, because we are very good at sticking things in categories.
I cannot find out what the benefits are of taking fenugreek as a...
Yeah, but
lowering blood sugar,
ooh, that might be really good for me.
boosting testosterone and increasing milk production in breastfeeding mothers. May also reduce cholesterol, lower inflammation and help with appetite control, but more research is needed in these areas.
That sounds really good, but how can it increase testosterone and be good for breastfeeding?
I don't know. I don't know.
That's
I don't know.
interesting. Just for your information, we've got 50 seconds to go.
Lovely.
Here we go live. Do you think anything will go wrong today?
No, of course not.
No. Nothing ever goes wrong with our lives.
Nothing ever goes wrong.
No. This is true. We are so professional these days. I
We
do like our
are.
counter. The counter has music as well, doesn't it? Yeah, it has.
There we go. It's because we're multi-format, multi-sensory.
Multi-platform, multi-format. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. And we are live!
Woohoo!
Yay! Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody.
It's definitely the afternoon.
Oh, it's been a day already, hasn't it? Anyway, how are you, Naomi? Lovely to see you here.
I am very well, thank you. Tim, how are you?
Good. I am good, thank you. We were
Good.
just discussing that we made the difficult decision for this game, this match, to substitute one of our favorite players for the player manager. I've rescued it now, haven't I?
Yes, absolutely. Although the football analogy is slightly lost on me. Basically, Tim is saying that Alex isn't here.
He's not here today. Well, he is here. He's watching. I think he's watching anyway, but he's not helping us out today, even though he is helping us out because he's actually chatting to people in the live chat at the moment.
Awesome. There we go.
Yeah, so what are we going to talk about today, Naomi?
So we are going to talk about studying at the last minute. Now, this came up from a live stream last week when Tim, who is my line manager, was on annual leave. And I made the executive decision that it would be the topic for this week. And then we were talking about it this morning, and I suddenly had to find myself justifying this topic to Tim because obviously this is not our recommendation. We don't recommend that you leave your studying to the last minute.
But
that's not what we're recommending. We've all done it, and this is the reality for a wide variety of circumstances that might be why you are studying at the last minute.
Yes.
And I've just thought, Tim, just as I've said that, of a time that I did do this. Tim was asking me if we about my study experience, and I've got an example now.
Excellent.
So yeah, it life happens, doesn't it? Life happens. And it's us sitting here and saying, well, you shouldn't study last minute is not actually any help to anybody if they are studying at last minute. So we're going to talk about tips and tricks for studying at the last minute, but we don't recommend it.
Except if you can't avoid it. Is that a fair comment?
Well, I think if you can't avoid it and you are studying last minute, we recommend that you do it rather than not.
Yes, I think that's
if it is last minute, we recommend that you study.
Absolutely. Just to highlight, we are joined today by MVP Gabby Faulkner, who's in our wonderful student and graduate experience team. So that's really nice. Hello, Gabby. Nobody knows about us, but I just answered her on Teams. So she's secretly watching what we're doing now.
Oh my. Hi, Gabby.
Hello, Gabby.
I blocked my Teams notifications, so I didn't get distracted by such things.
Right, so studying last minute, I think, shall we start with the random word generator?
Yes. So I'm just a bit of an explanation about this. Later on, I'm going to talk about memory techniques for last minute exam revision. So if there's just some facts or so I studied law, case names, different theories, different references, anything that you just need to remember last minute. So what Tim's going to do is use a random word generator to get me a list of random words. I am going to write them down, and then throughout the stream, I am going to try and memorize them. Now, this could go one of two ways. Either I will memorize most of them by the end of the stream and thus be able to show you some really good hints and tips for how to do that, and everyone will learn something, or I won't be able to do it and we'll have learned that you shouldn't leave it last minute.
Well, yes, so there's always educational. So you can't actually see the random word generator now.
No, I can't.
For the audience at home, I am going to click a button that says generate random words. Then I am going to read out each word for you, and you're going to write it down, I think. Is that right?
Yes, that's what I'm going to do.
Excellent. So let's click the magic button. Ooh, okay. First word. Are you ready?
Yes.
Attitude.
Attitude. That's an awesome word. Yes, carry on.
Word. Reception.
Reception. Yep.
Player.
Player.
Yeah, like the substituted player on this live match.
Yep.
Scene.
As in a scenic route.
Don't kick off, don't cause a scene.
No, yes, don't cause a scene.
Yeah. Mat. M-A-T-H.
As in the cat sat on. Oh, math.
Math.
He used an American site. I'm going to say maths.
Okay, that's fair enough. Just to highlight, by the way, today also, whilst this live stream is going on for the library, the Maths Hub is taking place as well in Collaborate. So if you are more interested in maths, definitely go and join them. They're lovely people. And one of the people that is working for them is your next word, Naomi, professor.
Yep.
And the professor was escorted offsite by security.
See, you're starting already.
Oh
These,
no, I
these
shouldn't
memory.
do that.
Just
Yeah.
give me the words.
Okay, clothes. Clothes.
Clothes.
My
Yep.
Dutch accent is really not helping here. Actor. Actor.
Actor. Yep. How
And
many are you doing?
the last one is bonus.
Bonus. Awesome.
Bonus.
Right.
Yes.
So I have got this list of how many was it? 10.
Yes.
10 words. And this is actually going to be quite challenging because I'm also talking during the stream. So whilst we go on, I am going to try and use some memory techniques to remember those. And I'm going
Well,
to talk
how do
about
we
those
know?
techniques later.
How do we know at the end that you're not just reading the list?
You're going to have to trust me.
Okay.
It's integrity there, isn't there?
Yes, and if there's one person who's integral to everything I do, it's you. Okay, good.
that redeemed yourself from the insult you gave me earlier.
I never insult people. Right, so let's talk about our own personal approaches to deadlines. Do you want to kick off on that?
Yes. So as I was saying to you earlier, Tim, when I was studying, I was very much a fan of getting things done early. I hate being late. I hate being late. My very first assignment when I was at university, and this is back in the day when you didn't submit things online or anything like that. There was nothing happened online. You printed out your essay and you took it to the office. And the first time I did that, on the day of the deadline, I turned up clutching my assignment, and this corridor was just full of people. And I think the deadline was like, it wasn't the end of the day, it was like 11 a.m. or something. And I'm looking at the time and there's people all over the place, and I was highly stressed. I didn't enjoy it at all. So after that, I handed everything in a week early just to give myself the relaxation, just the, that break. And there was one occasion in my third year where my lecturer said in the seminar beforehand, before the deadline, there's this cover form I want you all to include on your essay. And I had to go to him afterwards and say, I'm really sorry. I've already handed it in, so I can't include the cover form. And he did look a bit surprised. But that's basically, I can't handle the stress of working up to a deadline. But there was one time that I've just remembered, and it was an exam when I was planning to, I can't remember, I think I planned to give myself a week to revise for the exam, but then I was really, really poorly, like proper poorly that you can't actually do anything. And I ended up with only a couple of days, and that was very stressful. And what I had to do there was I really had to look at what topics. So it was one of those exams where you had to answer 2 questions out of 5 topics or something like that. And I had to make a guess. I had to guess which topics would come up, and just really hope for the best, because I only had time to revise 2 topics and I had to answer 2 questions. And they did both come up, but it was a very risky strategy. Don't recommend that at all.
No. We talked about anxiety in presentations some weeks ago in one of these live streams. So we talked about preparedness anxiety and preparedness and performance anxiety. And that preparedness anxiety, if you can avoid that, that's so much better.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
my personal approach is, I can only describe it as a journey because let's just say when I was in secondary school, my approach to deadlines was that they didn't exist, and if I had an exam, even my final exams, terribly enough, I would just rock up on the day and hope that I could wing it. And a lot of the time I did, and sometimes I didn't. So I was a very stress-free young man, I can say. And then when I finally made it to university, I realized that that didn't work anymore. But I still didn't really care, which is why I had 3 attempts to get my bachelor's. But during the final attempt, I learned that actually I had to plan things a bit better. And over time, I dare I say this, Naomi, I don't know if this is mean, but I became a bit more mature and a bit more responsible. And as I became a bit more mature and responsible, I learned that actually planning and working to deadlines properly was part of life, was something that I had to do. So I started doing that. And, since then I've managed to get an MSc with distinction and a PhD. So I have learned over time. But yes, I was very much, certainly during the first few years at university, not very good at dealing with deadlines at all. I usually did all my work at the last moment. And actually, you know what? That's really good because it helps me to explain things to how to do better from a position of where I know exactly how you feel when you leave things to the last moment. So we'll just chat that up as a live lesson. You know, you're very rapidly learning these words, aren't you?
I'm trying to start. Well, I've got to do it.
You do, yes.
So I am starting, yes. Any time that you're talking, I'm going to be learning the words
Very
and also
exciting.
fully engaging
You haven't got a
with
clue
what's
what I
being
just
said.
talked about.
You went on a journey and you matured and you now are better organized, but you can still empathize with the less organized.
That's what a summary. Almost professional. Okay, good. So I'm going to talk a bit about tips for writing an assignment close to your deadline. So what are the things that you can do to actually make sure that you can finish the assignment even though you probably started it too late? And I can talk about quite a lot of different angles to this, but I want to start with the sort of preface, if you like, that during all of these, you know, it's part of my pedagogy, as they call it, my approach to learning and teaching. I believe that everybody that is watching this has other circumstances in life that make it more complicated to be focused, that make it more complicated to just be a student. Let's put it that way. Even if you are a 19-year-old and you're a second year student and you live in halls, there will still be things that make things more difficult. So when we talk about planning, you know, yes, of course, it's great to plan, but there's always circumstances that can make it more difficult, and we fully acknowledge that. So, what can you do when you do get into that position where you are really close to the deadline and you have to write an assignment? And I want to take it from a personal experience. We talked, I think it was last week, about understanding the question and writing to answer the question of the person that's asked the question. That's a very roundabout way of saying actually answering the question that was asked for the assignment. Um, I once answered the wrong question completely and ended up realizing about 4 days before the submission deadline that my essay was not going to pass anything. And I'll never forget, I was talking about copyright, not the most exciting thing, but also the right to remain individual. No, sorry, the right to remain anonymous in court and all that. And I written this very extensive essay, and basically it did not answer the question I was supposed to answer. So what I ended up doing was actually trying to fix it by using the material that I had gathered beforehand. And that wasn't just for that particular assignment. It was also picking on the knowledge that I picked up before that in different assignments and with different coursework. So one of the things that I would say that you can do is rely on the things that you've already learned and utilize those to basically accelerate the writing of your assignment. So if you think again about copyright, for example, I'd already learned about copyright and the publishing industry, but I didn't want to repeat what I'd said before. So instead, I applied copyright to what was happening in social media, which meant that my understanding of copyright gave me a framework to write about the use of copyright in social media a lot more effectively because I didn't have to regurgitate that material again. The other thing that you can do is be very strict about planning your time. So the closer you get to the deadline, the more strict you have to become in planning. And that's difficult because if you ended up close to deadline because you weren't planning, then that means that you have to pick up your planning and do better at your planning. So the thing to do there is really dedicate particular blocks of each day to writing. Really just concentrate on writing the assignment and getting it done that way. And don't be distracted during those hours. We've talked about this a lot before, you know, work in a space that doesn't allow for you to be distracted, basically. So that's really important. And actually putting that in your agenda as well. I don't know if people use agendas and diaries to, announce when they're doing what or when they're planning. But I know in my work practice that when I have like a last minute request for a paper, for example, that needs to go in, that I actually put that in my diary so that people know that I'm busy at that time and I won't be answering emails, I won't be answering phone calls, I will just be doing that particular paper. And that's really important as well.
Yeah, and sticking with that as well. So making it really clear to everyone else, this is my time that I am working on this. And then if
Yeah.
someone does interrupt you, finding those ways to say very politely, actually, I'm really sorry, but I'm working on this right now and I can't help you.
Yeah, and that's sometimes that's really difficult,
Mm.
I'll never forget that we had our dissertations for my masters at Sheffield. And I'd already finished it, right? I was a very diligent master student. And like you, I decided to finish it a week before. So I submitted it. And then one day I decided to go to campus anyway, just to have a chat with people that were still there. And one of my really good friends, Joe, was there, beavering away on his dissertation in the little computer lab. And I walked in and I said, Joe, we're going to drink a pint because I'm bored. And Joe looked at me and said, it's 11 o'clock. And I said, oh, well, we'll go with 12 then. You've got an hour to finish your assignment or your dissertation. And he looked at me like I was completely alien. Worked for about an hour, and then we went to the pub, had a few pints, and then he went back and actually managed to do a lot more work because he'd had a few pints.
Good grief! No, we're not giving that as advice.
Oh, that's not advice?
We're on rocky enough ground as it is with this whole topic.
Yeah, okay, maybe that's not advice. Don't drink and drive. Maybe that's actually the tip, Maybe you shouldn't actually go and drink a few days before.
There's another difference with Alex not being involved in this live stream. So Alex is very organized as well.
Yes.
And Alex gives us a lot more direction about what we're actually going to say and what points that we should make beforehand. It's a lot more planned. This is obviously what happens when you just let Tim think about things as he goes.
I love making making an impression on people. Anyway, I think those are the main things that you can do. So don't drink. That makes sense. But
Don't
make
drink
sure
alcohol, but do drink fluids.
Drink water. Water is always useful. But yeah, make sure that you plan and actually have really strict planning and stick to it. Make sure that you build on the knowledge that you already have, because a lot of coursework will be based on coursework you've done before, so you can pick that up. And finally, make sure that you actually make that time for you and that you make clear to other people, even if it's really interesting what they are going to do. Go and play football or basketball or, whatever it is that they want to do. Learn to say no because you've got to finish your assignment. And when you're that close to the deadline, that's all you can do. And that's the big disadvantage of leaving work to the last moment as well, I think.
Yeah. As we're going to say this all the way through, aren't we? This is not what we're recommending. This is just what we're recommending. You deal with the situation if that's the one that you're in.
Yeah, the more you can avoid, getting into this situation, the better.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Right. Are we going to talk about memory techniques?
Yes. Have you got that list of words up again?
Yeah, but I want you to throw your piece of paper away.
Okay, so can you see my hands?
Yeah, where's the piece of paper?
Right, well, I've got lots of pieces of paper, but they're here.
Okay.
Put them down.
Upside down, yeah?
Upside, genuinely, I promise. Okay. I promise you.
Okay. And you can't see this list, so I'm going to switch to the list. Right. Okay, Naomi.
Okay. So the words themselves are reception, professor, maths, actor, scene, clothes, player, attitude, bonus, and what's the 10th one? Player and attitude, security.
Yes.
So that's all of them.
So go through them again, because I can tick them. Sorry.
Oh, reception, professor, maths, actor, clothes, scene, player, security, attitude, bonus.
My word, yes, you've got a heart behind every single one of them.
Tim didn't think I could do that.
No.
And I'll do them again at the end as well, maybe, because obviously if you're revising for an exam, you need to be able to hold them in your brain for longer than
Yes,
that.
I can untick them, so we can do that. Yes.
But I will just talk through how I did that, because I think this is basically what I've got to talk about in terms of memory. So I like using my memory. It's something that I know that I can do, and it's always nice to use a skill that you know you can do. Do something that you know you're good at is always good fun. And this is something that I've been doing. I've talked about this in previous things before, since I was really little. So my mum would have us memorize poems. We would memorize poems and then recite them. It's what her dad used to do with her when she was little. So from a very young age, I was reciting poetry, learning lines for little skits and church plays and things like that. And it's all about making connections and associations and then repetition, basically. So you've got to make connections with other things and association with other things that you can then help you remember, and then repetition, practice, do it again and again. So my little girl at the moment has just started school, and she is learning how to read. They're learning phonics. So she's got all these sounds she's got to learn. And what they have for each of them, they have the sound, they have a picture of the letter that makes that sound. So they're already visual, as well as just the letter. They have little songs that go with all of them. So that's, again, they sing those songs, they learn that music. It's going, all these connections are being made. They're learning to write them out and to say them. So many different connections being made. And that is how you learn. I remember when I was at school, we had, I think it was like sponsored spellings every year. It was a fundraising thing as well. Fundraising and making us learn how to spell. And you had
Sponsored
to learn
spellings.
sponsored spellings, yes. Well,
Was
it
sponsored
alternated.
by
So
what?
you would take your little
Persian.
sheet out to all your family members and say, can you sponsor me to learn in these spellings? And then it was under proper like exam conditions. This is when I was like 8 or 9. You'd sit in the hall and write out all your spellings, and they'd tell you how many you'd got. And people would sponsor you like 10 pence per word.
Oh
And
wow!
then you'd go back to your friends and family and say, look, I got 9 out of my 10 right. And they'd give you 90 pence for the charity.
And that is how you create inequality in society.
By making people learn to spell.
Well,
I don't
no,
know what the
by
charities were. Are you talking about charities again?
no, never mind, never mind. No, well, I'm sorry. What I was referring to is, if I had to be sponsored for my learning, my parents would probably turn around and say, "No, I can't do it. Yeah, no money for it."
I think all the children were still expected to learn the spellings, to be fair.
Well, that's mean. Anyway, let's not go into politics. We
Anyway,
already did that. Yeah.
no, we won't do that again.
No.
So I remember really struggling with the word meant, as in I meant to say, which is spelled, I now know, MEANT. But I kept on wanting to spell it MENT because that makes much more sense, meant. And I remember my sister helping me with this, and my mum, but my sister was crawling around on the floor pretending to be an ant. And she was saying, look at me, I'm a me ant, look at me, I'm a me ant. And that genuinely, that image is still in my head, and that is how I know how to spell the word meant. It's all about these associations, and it made me laugh at the time as an 8-year-old. That made me laugh watching this happen. And again, it's sometimes the more bizarre these associations are, the easier it makes to remember things. So I'll show you. I don't know if you're going to be able to see. I don't know where my camera is. So these are some of my notes. Can you see these on screen, Tim?
Yeah,
In any way, shape, or form?
I think they pick
You'll
up. Yes.
get a general idea. So I wrote the
Yeah.
words out as Tim was saying them, and then I started drawing pictures. So like I say, my little girl is at school. She's in reception class. They do maths there. One of the things they learn. My husband is a lecturer at the university. He's not a professor, but still. So that's my walk to and from school in my mind. So I've walked my little girl to school, and then I've come back for her to learn maths, and then I've come back home where my husband is. That's professor. Then this is my picture for the next 3 words that I learned. I've got an actor. The actor's wearing clothes because actors tend to wear clothes when they are acting. And you obviously have a scene that you set whilst you are, a play will have certain scenes. So that's those 3 words grouped together. Then I revised those 2 sets of 3 words, those 6 words. I made sure I'd remembered those. Then I went on to the next set where I've got another little picture. I've got a football player because Tim was just talking about football, so that was in my mind. He is, or she, could be a she, is kicking a football towards a security person. They're wearing a hat. That's why they're a security person, who is saying, oi, they've got an attitude. They don't want that football kicked at them. And then bonus is easy because it's just a bonus word at the end. So I have split those 10 words up into 3 blocks of 3. I have created an image around each of those 3 blocks of 3 that I then got in my mind. I've got my bonus word at the end. That's, like I say, that was nice and easy, that one. And then those are my associations. I've tried to make it as multi-format as I can. So they're images in my head as well as things I've been drawing with my hand. It's images as well as words. So some of the early ones, I wrote the words out as well alongside the images to really tie those together. And then it's repetition. So these next ones, I've just been writing them out from memory repeatedly on bits of paper until I knew I could do all 10 without looking back at them. And I did all that whilst Tim was talking earlier. And this genuinely is what I used to do for exams. So one of the subjects, I did dual honours, but one of the subjects I studied was law, where you have to learn cases and you have to learn legal points and legal arguments. It's quite structured. So when you go into an exam, we used to have scenario questions, and you knew you had to look for certain things in the scenario. You had to make certain legal points, basically, for each topic. So what I would do is I would write out these points with cases, case names, all that in it, put it into bullet points, into a list, and I would learn that list just the way I've just done. Obviously, now Tim was also criticizing me about telling people to learn by rote earlier. So yes, that is learning by rote. Obviously, I would also need to know the background of the context to talk about all these points. But it was really useful to learn by rote what points I was going to talk about. So I would get into the exam, see which legal point was being asked about. I would immediately be able to write out my list, and bam, I've got a structure for my essay answer. And then I would expand on all those things one by one and know that I'd covered all the points I need to. Tim's bursting with things he wants to say about why this is all a bad idea.
No, I don't want to say it's a bad idea. But the first thing I'm going to say is, you know my memory, Naomi. It's not great, is it? It's not great.
I wouldn't say anything.
So I actually don't learn the way that you do, right?
No, absolutely not.
We're moving on from this idea that people have different learning styles, but at the same time, we can acknowledge that cognitively we work differently. So I can't do learning by rote. I've never been able to do it. I hate every second of it.
But how much have you tried?
When I was in primary school, I could do all the tables, right? So I could do 2 by 2 is 2, 4, 6, 8, blah, 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 blah. I could do all of those up to about, I think it was 13, the table of 13. So 30 times 1 times 2 times 3. And that was in a way learned by rote, except that I didn't learn it by rote. I learned it by association. So I was just able to visualize a number multiplying. That makes sense, right? And I have always genuinely been bad at learning by rote. And we had a very interesting chat yesterday, our star player Alex and me. Alex is learning to speak German. You know this?
I didn't know that. It doesn't surprise me. Alex is doing everything.
Yes, I said, when are you doing that? In my spare time. But basically, we were talking about the naamvallen in German. So in German, you get gender. So you get female, male, and gender neutral. So you get der, die, das, die, die, den, die, blah, 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 blah. I can't even remember what they all are. When I went to secondary school, we learned German. And actually, mein Deutsch ist sehr gut. Ja, ich kann es immer sprechen und ich kann es dahin reden und ich kann es lesen. But what I couldn't do was understand these der, die, das, die, blah, 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 blah. So in German, you literally have to know whether a word is male or female.
And you have to learn it, don't you? You have
to. You learn it by rote, essentially.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. So whenever I came in to do we called it an SO, which is not quite an exam, but it's like a written examination, a lightweight exam, if you like. My German teacher, Herr Fromm, would stand in front of the class. I would walk in and say, Tim, we have a little exam today. Would you like to do it? Or would you like me to write you down for a 2 because we know you will fail it? And I would always just go, because they ranked from 1 till 10. He didn't want to give me 1 out of 10. So he gave me a 2 out of 10 because he felt a bit sorry for me. And I would always just go, yeah, give me 2 out of 10. And I'd booger off and go.
That's shocking. Different. But yes, carry on.
Yes. Education was very different in the 90s, ladies and gentlemen. Certainly in the Netherlands. But yeah, I just can't, my head doesn't work like that. So what the things that I know about history, for example, I know a lot about history. I know because I associate and pick it up in a different way in my brain. If you
But
want me to say a year, I can't tell you the year. Like the French Revolution, 17 something or other, I can't tell you the year, but I can tell you a lot about the context, about why it happened, about, right? So
Yeah.
it's just a different way of learning.
But what I have done is made associations. That's what I was doing. I've made
Yes.
associations between these words and with the images.
Yes.
That is how I was doing it as well. So it's
Yes.
slightly different, but I think still comes down to that fundamental thing that you need to just use that information as many different ways as you can, even if it's not directly related to your study, but
Yes.
build those associations.
I'm going to let you into a secret. Do you know why I can't do it?
Let me and the whole world of the internet into the secret.
Because it bores me.
Well, this is why I asked back when you said you couldn't learn by rote. I said, have you tried?
I probably
because
have.
I know you quite well now.
I probably
so that
have.
doesn't surprise me at all.
I probably have and went, can't be asked. No, not doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I enjoy it. Like I say, I enjoy it. And I love exams. I would take an exam over an essay every day of the week. Very much love exams. Learning law really suited me. Law as a subject really suited me.
Yeah, I'm the total opposite. I would have failed law without any doubt.
But that said, I did this. So I did dual honours, like I say, I did law and criminology, which is one of the more social science related. And I use the same techniques to learn theorists, again, references, to get references into my exam answers.
Yeah.
So the citations I would learn that way as well. And again, those points that I was going to make. So again, I would go and I'd see my topic, I'd write down all the points I wanted to make, and then I have my plan to go away and write. So I think it is kind of adaptable to different subjects. But yeah,
we're all different people, aren't we? You know,
we are all different people, and I want to see if I can remember those words by the end of the. So I'm not going to work any more on it now. Between now and the end of the stream, and then we'll see if I can still remember them.
Ooh, challenging.
Ooh, I know. I like to challenge myself. This is what we're all about, challenging ourselves.
Yes, and that's why we do feedback loops that we talked about some weeks ago as well.
Yes.
You know, because that's how I learn. I reflect on stuff and do it differently the next time.
Can I just say there's one more memory technique that I was reading about that I've never tried and I want to try. So maybe I might even, because I'm that motivated by this, I might even do another video, just a video of myself doing exactly the same experiment, but with this other memory technique, which is where you place things in a location. So Sherlock does this on the BBC Sherlock adaptation. He has his mind palace, and there's one of the bad dudes has his vault that he goes to in his mind where he places different objects.
Yeah.
And I'm just ignoring Tim now. And also, is this more your style? In Wolf Hall, Hilary Mantel, Wolf Hall, Cromwell does this. She has. I love that book so much. But anyway, she has these vivid descriptions of him walking through places in his mind, picking memories up off statues and pictures and things like that. So you create a physical space in your mind, and then you associate memories within it. Now, I have never tried doing that, and I don't know anybody in real life who has. I was thinking about this earlier, and those 3 examples are all fictional. So I don't know if anyone in real life actually used this. Let me know if you do use it.
I do. That's the visualization technique that I use. So I try and imagine to be in a certain place, and then I can pick up on a certain thing. Yeah.
I'm going to give that a go. Anyway, that's my extra.
I still don't remember the years though.
No.
Right. No. Let's move on. We've got Alexander is clearly not in the chat, so that's good. I just want to say though, if anybody who is watching has any questions, ask them, because we're here for you. And after the upcoming presentation, what we will do is we'll talk about the grammar topic of the week, which is going to be really good fun. Mainly because we can just yell at each other about it. It's going to be really cool. And then we're going to do library resource spotlight, and we're going to answer your questions after that. So we've got about 25 minutes left, so we're going to dive straight into the Derby Diamond. Oh, this is exciting. Right.
I'm waiting with anticipation. You've built it up there, the Derby.
I have.
And then not said anything since.
I was
pointing that out.
Yeah, I was taking a very quick break. You could see that. Nobody else could see that.
But they could hear you'd stop talking.
Yes, because I muted my microphone. I used my
Well, there
very
we go.
professional stream deck. Right. So you can't see this slide, Naomi,
Now I can't see the slide.
which is a real
Do you want me
shame
to
because
look
it's a
on my
beautiful
phone?
slide. Yes,
Hang on
it's
a
such
sec.
a nice slide.
I'll pull up the stream on my phone.
Whilst you do that, I will give a bit of background to what the Derby Diamond is. So the Derby Diamond is something that I've developed at the University of Derby over the last 4 years, talking to students, helping students with their coursework, and trying to make sense of their reasoning and cognitive processes to give them advice on how to perform better and how to plan better, because planning is actually a really big part of the Derby Diamond. And the way that this Derby Diamond is put together, I hope it's clear in this particular slide that we have the diamond.
It's a beautiful slide, Tim. I have now got it on my phone. I'm impressed.
Yeah. So the diamond in the middle there is the basic shape that we use as a mnemonic. Mnemonic. So that is basically the tool that you can use to remember the key steps in this process. And over time, as I was dealing with this diamond, explaining it to students, I realized that it was quite powerful, but it's also a very flexible tool. So I want to talk about how this diamond can actually help you with the famous 5 Ps. If you've not heard this before, you will hear it now. Proper planning prevents poor performance. So, it's all about being able to plan properly will stop you performing poorly. And that's basically at the essence of the Derby Diamond. So, what does this do? Well, the top of the diamond, if you follow a line straight down to the bottom of the diamond, is time, right? So the timeline at the top of the diamond, you receive your assignment, and then you go through time, and then at the bottom of the diamond, you hand it in, and that's it. That's your coursework done. Then the left to right axis of the diamond is about knowledge. And one thing that I noticed a lot when I was talking to students was that they didn't quite get how important it is to actually build up knowledge about the topic. And this is not a sort of a general criticism, but I think a lot of people don't quite understand what the purpose of learning is. And a lot of people seem to learn because they just want to finish the assignment and be done with it. They don't learn to increase their knowledge of a particular topic. And I will hold up my hand, I am doing now to the camera, Naomi can see it sort of, that I absolutely did the same thing. So I used to approach exams and essays and things as things that had to be done to make sure that I would get my degree, not as things that would actually teach me about a particular topic. And let's be honest, we are at university to become more knowledgeable about the topic. So if your approach to exams and things is, oh, I just have to pass it, you're doing it wrong. Quite brutal, but you are doing it wrong. So when you receive your assignment, the first things that you need to do to improve your knowledge of that topic is to actually start planning your research and start reading. So writing an essay or a report or a project plan, whatever it is, always starts by starting to think about what information, what knowledge do I need to make the most out of this particular topic. When you have actually collected that and when you've started reading, you start also the process of note taking. So, note taking, when you have a paper, let's say you have a journal paper, and you're scribbling in it and you're pulling bits and pieces out of it, those bits, those notes that you are taking, are actually the start of your writing process. So, the whole academic process, if you like, begins with reading, with understanding the topic, with actually planning your research. And then as you are reading, your knowledge builds up and gets better and better and better. And at the point that you think you have built up the knowledge sufficiently, only then do you start writing. So we often talk about writer's block, for example. Students start an essay and they open a Word and they write the sentence that they think sort of answers the question, and then they're looking at the screen, not knowing what to do next. Well, if you find yourself in that position, that's because you've not actually read enough about the topic, because your brain hasn't actually got enough material to feed where you want to take it next, and therefore you stop yourself from being productive. So again, it is really important as part of the planning that you actually take time and understand that it is important to take time to read and to make notes. And that when you've done that, you start writing. And with those notes, you've already got the foundation of your writing as well. So when you've taken really good notes, you can take those, put them in that Word document that you've opened up, and start structuring them and moving them around and start making sense of the topic, of the answer that you are trying to provide by just referring back to the literature as well. Then the final stage, and you do this actually right at the beginning. So here it looks like over time you plan a first, second, and third draft. You do that early on because you know when you receive your assignment when you are supposed to hand it in. So let's say your hand in date is on the 21st of January. You know it's the 21st of January, so it makes sense to, for example, plan a first draft to be done before Christmas. Then you have time for the second draft after New Year, and then you have time for the third draft before you have to hand it in. So planning in those drafts is actually really valid and very valuable. And the key reason for that being important is because when you are writing on something continuously, for example, because you started too late, because you've actually failed to start planning your work in time, is that you get stuck in the subject and you can't read your own writing objectively. When you can't read your own writing objectively, you then begin to fail because you can't actually make the corrections that you need to make to improve the quality of your work. So after the first draft, you take a weekend, maybe even a whole week if it is Christmas, to just step away from it. Move away from the essay, from the piece of work that you were making, and take the time to just let go of it, because then when you come back to it, you will have fresh eyes and you will be able to actually deal with it a lot better, and you will actually get a much nicer, cleaner result in the end. Ooh, that was the Diamond in 5 minutes. Shall we discuss it a bit more in detail, Naomi? What do you think?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I think for me, what always strikes me most, so personally, the way that I study about the oh no, now I've got it on my phone and I can see myself again and it's confusing me. I'm ever so sorry, everybody. I can't cope with that. Right. Phone is gone. The bit that always I personally find most useful is it's that turning point. It's that knowing when you need to turn the corners of the diamond, stop expanding outwards and start narrowing down and focusing.
Yes.
That's the bit that speaks to me the most, because my tendency will be just to carry on and on and on and on and on.
Yes, very important point actually. I didn't accentuate that in the brief presentation there, but that's exactly right. You know, at some point you have to stop expanding your knowledge because you know how to answer the question, and if you know how to answer the question, that's what the lecturer was looking for, right? We weren't looking for you to become a genius in the subject area overnight. We were looking for you to get to the point where you can answer the question effectively. Yeah, very
Yeah.
important.
You've got to do both. You've got to, and so in terms of traps you can fall into the trap of starting to write in a focused way too soon without all that knowledge.
Yeah.
But you can also fall into the trap of just concentrating, expanding the knowledge and not focusing. So it's a real balance. And I think the diamond really sums it up, because you do one and then you do the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's understanding also when you are reading, we often get the question, oh, how many references do I need to get a good mark? Well, that depends on your subject area, right?
Yeah.
It could be that there's only two really good quality papers in your area that will answer your question, and that could be enough theoretically. It could also be that you need to draw in 20, 30, 40 different pieces of work just because it's such a complex area, or because so many different opinions. So you can't decide how many references you need until you actually understand the area that you're working on. So that's really
Yeah.
important as well.
I'm going to talk about backwards planning because Alex, who is definitely not in the chat and watching this stream, loves to talk about backwards planning. So this is my representing Alex and his interest. So he did actually explain this last week, and this is where the question came from that inspired this whole stream. But backwards planning, in short summary, means when so instead of looking at that diamond and think, right, I've got my first draft, second draft, third draft, and I can do a first draft in 3 weeks time, and then I reckon I could manage that, and then a second draft 2 weeks after that. You start with your deadline date and you work backwards. So you have your deadline, which is a fixed point, you've been given that, and then your next one is your third draft, say, and you think, well, I really need that at least a week before the deadline, and you work backwards in that way, and that has the definite advantage that you meet the deadline. Basically, the risk of forwards planning is that you give yourself, yes, I'm going to need 4 weeks to do this bit, and I'll need 3 weeks to do that bit, and I'll need 6 weeks to do that bit, and then you find that it's a year and a half after the assignment should have been handed in. So that really fits in with the diamond, like Tim just showed. If you know your end point, your point of the diamond, you know your deadline, you know where you are now, you can use that backwards planning through the diamond to work backwards, and get all those personal deadlines in.
Yeah,
as you
because
go.
you could put deadlines in for this is when I want to be reading. Right? You could
Mm,
put in a reading week for a particular assignment or reading day. So most students during a normal semester, I think you will have 4 modules that you're doing. I think in most cases.
I
So
don't know.
I don't know either, actually, to be honest. But if you have 4 modules in a semester, you could spend 1 day each week, 1 day in the week to a particular module, for example, just to make sure that your brain stays clear. Because one of the things that confuse students a lot as well is they start modeling different topics that they're learning about. So in my own background in information science, it could be that you have a module that's information architecture, information system review or planning, and I don't know, something else. And they're actually really close to each other, but they are different topics. So you're at risk then of, oh, today I'm doing information architecture, but I'm also going to do a bit of information systems review. And actually, you end up muddling the two up and getting it wrong and mixed up.
It's an interesting point, because also we know that there are times when you're going to want to make links between your modules. But
Hmm.
I think that, again, is going to be easier if you've separated them out in your
Yeah.
mind. If they're muddled up in your mind, it's more difficult to draw links between them because you're not sure what's what. If
Yeah.
they're separate in your mind, you can then see, actually, I've got my 2 separate things here, and yes, I can really see that this bit relates to this bit,
Yeah.
and
And
draw
again,
those
that's
links.
also what we talked about when I was talking about some tips about what can you do to get organized if you have got a short deadline. Building on that knowledge that you picked up in other modules is a really valid way of doing it.
Yeah.
You do have to be really careful though, because of something that we talked about 3 weeks ago. You know what I'm referring to?
Self-plagiarism?
Self-plagiarism, yes. So absolutely good. But you're not supposed to copy work from one assignment to another assignment. And these
No.
days with Turnitin, you're basically shooting your own goal. Now we've got a real football analogy going
We
on.
have. We're
Yes.
powering on with the football.
Yeah. But yeah, you're scoring an own goal because, Paternity will pick up on the fact that you're self-plagiarizing. So don't do that. Don't do that.
No.
But you can use that knowledge, like we said in the diamond at the first half, that knowledge that you build up, you can reuse that in different contexts if you want to. Yeah. Good.
Lovely. Shall we talk about grammar?
Yes.
So, and I just want to say this was Tim's idea to have a grammar topic of the week in the live stream. And I was thinking about, I wanted to find a grammar topic that was like a quick win. So again, if you're working last minute, you're proofreading your work, what's a quick win I can make? Oh, it might all be grammatically to pot, but I know that this particular bit is right. So I thought about capital letters. I then looked into it, and capital letters are actually still quite complicated, it turns out, and not necessarily a quick win. But we'll talk a bit about capital letters. So when you should use one and when you shouldn't use a capital letter. And it's deceptively simple and then more complex as you go into it, I think. So you should always use a capital letter at the beginning of a sentence. So the first word in your sentence should begin with a capital letter. You should always use a capital letter for the personal pronoun, which is I. So if you are saying, although again, with an essay, this might not come up so much because you might not be using I. But anyway, if you were going to be using I think this, I said that I needs to be a capital letter. And proper nouns. So those are the names of things. So that's the names of people. So Tim, Tim's name is Tim, and you start that with a capital T. The names of places. So I am in Derby at the moment. That starts with a capital D. Also the names of brands, anything that is a name of something needs to start with a capital letter. And this is, we were talking about, Tim and I got started earlier on our the things that we get most incensed about. And so for me, it's the word so we see it a lot. We obviously, Tim and I both work at the University of Derby in the library. You see it with the word university and the word library. So if you were writing University of Derby, you would capitalize the U, you would capitalize the D. It's a name, the University of Derby. But if in a work context I say to Tim, are you going into the university next week, that's a small you don't need to capitalize that, because it's not the name, it's talking about the general place. And that always annoys me. And the same with library. In the library, we love the library in the library. So there's always a tendency to put a capital L at the beginning of library, which you need if you're talking about the name of the library. But if you're just talking about the library, it doesn't need that. That's totally not been straightforward, has it?
So here, this is where the grey area kicks in, right? Because when we talk about the University of Derby, and we use university as referring to the University of Derby, but we've shortened it, we've left off Derby off, it does become capitalized.
No, I don't think it does.
I think it does, you see. And we had a really interesting discussion. That's why we knew that we were going to have a bit of a back and forth on this. I would write a word like information management, and I don't do this anymore. I'm actively unlearning this. But a word like information management, 2 words, I would capitalize I and M because it's my field, and I think my field is important. So information management has to be capitalized. And I am unlearning that. But then there's still grey areas, because genuinely, if I am talking about the library in St. Helena, then I'm talking about a specific place, and library is the name of that specific place. So on the name signs, on the directional signs, it wouldn't be wrong to capitalize it.
Yes, no, not on the directional signs, definitely. But I think if you were using in a sentence the library at St. Helena, you would have a small L.
But then it becomes the, and therefore it becomes
No, but he's talking about the library.
unspecified.
That's not its name. That's what it is.
Well, people,
it's like
comments.
when you were saying the house.
The house.
At the moment, I'm not in the library. I'm in the house.
Yeah, so that's
I wouldn't
where
put capital letters on any of that.
Oh dear. We want comments on this. We want comments on this, because we're going to argue about this forever, really.
Yes, the grammar topic of the week was a really good idea, Tim. Really good idea.
Yeah, I'm really pleased that you guys are doing it. Right, so we're going to show you some podcasts. We're going to talk about podcasts again, aren't we?
Yes, we're going to highlight our resource, aren't we?
We are. Now, I'm going to use the YouTube podcast because they're easy to show on screen. But I'm going to do an unexpected Naomi. And then I'm going to do...
I need a jingle for Unexpected Naomi. I need to record.
That's a great idea. We could put a jingle under it. We could put your voice under it. That's enough. That's enough. We're on the library website now. The library, by the way, on the website, all capitals.
Well, all capitals.
All capitals.
Oh, but that doesn't count then, does it?
No, but our libraries.
I said that this was an issue we have a lot in the library. I'm not saying that I agree with what's on the website.
Okay.
Is it capitalized on the website?
Yeah.
So I don't think that's correct. I think that is incorrect.
Well, we're going to, and actually, further down it's not capitalized. So I'm going to have to talk to Matt anyway. I was going to this afternoon. But yeah, that's yeah. But what about the library help site?
Yeah, so that first line, our libraries are now open, I would not capitalize that. Absolutely not.
See, this is where the dilemma comes in, isn't it? And I am aware that I make that mistake. I would have written this in exactly the same, and I would have capitalized libraries in one place, not in the other place. So,
library help site, I can get on board with because that's the title of the site, Library Help.
Shall we click on it? See what happens.
Click on it.
Yes. Because this is actually a lovely service that we're developing at the moment. This is our FAQs, our frequently answered questions. And you can find all sorts of information here.
Just like to say libraries capitalized on every single one of those FAQs.
Good. Have I put you on the FAQ editorial board yet?
You've talked about it.
Anyway, so this is the FAQs. You can also access all the different things that we offer as a library. Library Plus, browsing, index and databases. And you can actually chat with the team here as well. So you click on chat now, you click on no thanks, you click on the green bubble, but you can also just leave a message for us here. And if you do that, then, oh, you just see my Gmail address, go away. If you do that, then someone will pick it up and come back to you straight away, or we will answer you as one of our working days. So 9 to 5, every working day of the week, we answer these things. You can also email us, you can phone us, you can tweet us, you can also Instagram us. And Derby Uni Library is a very handy bridge because that's basically where the key term that you can use to find out podcasts. So I am going to go to, I don't think we have a link to YouTube on here yet, do we? No, see, we're redoing the whole website. And this is one of the things that we're looking at. You can see here, I've tweeted about this. We've got Study Fest. We need to talk about Study Fest, Naomi.
Yes.
What's coming
It's
next week?
amazing. It's going to be it's next week. It's going to be amazing. Loads of sessions on, wide range of topics. Colleagues from across the university. Look at the calendar. Sign up for events. It's going to be brilliant.
And again, you can find the link on Twitter. But I don't know who did this because I was tweeting about it and then retweeted with the library account. Someone said we might be biased, but this is the Study Fest 2020 day we are most excited about. Library Day, because we have a library day next week.
Capitalized.
All capitals. And next week, our live stream will be all about Study Fest. And yeah, we will have a whole range of sessions. You can find the link there. But no YouTube. So I'm going to go to YouTube. And then I'm going to find, oh, look, there we are, Derby Uni Library. So I'm going to go to YouTube. Oh, I can hear myself now. This is bad. And I'm going to find,
no.
Oh,
you invented some kind of quantum loop there.
I know, this is bizarre, isn't it? I shouldn't have done that. But on the side, how do I get out of here now? Yes. Don't panic, Mr. Mannering. You can find a playlist that I will show you now. And on there we have the Assignment Journey podcast. And it is an Assignment Journey one, isn't it? Beating procrastination and taking effective breaks, or were they?
I think they were just like independent. Yes, they were standalone ones.
This is what happens when you substitute the star player.
Yeah. This is where Alex's organisation really comes to the fore, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh, no, look, we're all right here. Taking effective breaks whilst studying skills podcasts and beating procrastination skills podcasts. And we, at the start of this stream, I highlighted that we accept that students come from different backgrounds. There's always a reason that means that you can't plan as well as you want because you're working in difficult circumstances, whatever it is. But we should also all acknowledge that we all suffer from something called procrastination, where we don't really want to do it, so we're just going to put it off until we can't put it off anymore. And that, in fact, is extremely natural. There is nothing weird about that. That's just the way it is. So yeah, do check out those podcasts because they are absolutely awesome. Naomi, we're going back to camera. There we are.
Wonderful. They're also available across podcasting sites as well, aren't they? So you've shown them on YouTube, but they're on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, other things.
Google Play.
Does Google have a podcasting site?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah. They're basically all the popular podcasting platforms. Yes, because we're cool.
We are cool, Tim. We're cool.
Of course we're cool. Look at us. We're librarians. We have to be cool.
I'm not a librarian. Speak for yourself. Thank you very much.
You work in a library.
I do work in a library.
With a capital L.
I know I've said before, I've had this at family events. My mum would introduce, or public events, would be there with my mum and my sister, and my mum would introduce us and say, this is my elder daughter. She's a librarian. This is my younger daughter, Naomi, who works in a library. Every time. This is the librarian daughter. This one works in a library.
Your sister isn't actually a librarian, is she?
She is. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Does she
she's a qualified librarian. She doesn't anymore. But she is a qualified librarian.
So she's not a librarian.
See, now we're into the philosophical question. What makes a librarian?
Cool.
Is it having the degree or is it having the role?
But also the role is more important. And the experience as well. But it's not
she's
even
got the experience.
Yes. Oh, we could talk about this
No,
forever.
let's not get into this.
No.
I think we've covered everything on our plan because you've already
have.
talked about the online resources and support that
Yes.
students can access. So I'm just going to run through my words just one more time. So I
Oh,
genuinely
yes.
I've
Oh,
not worked them at all. And I started thinking about it at one point and I stopped myself. I've genuinely not been concentrating on that
good.
at all since we did it last.
Right,
And
I've got them up.
I'm interested for myself whether I can remember them. Reception, professor, maths, actor, scene, clothes, security, player, attitude, bonus. And that was even quicker than when I had been thinking about it. So if I recalled those every so often, maybe twice a day, I could remember those forever.
Okay, can you name me any of the laws that you had to learn by rote?
No, you see, because I've stopped practicing. I know a few key cases in my head. So Donahue and Stevenson, for example, is a case that always sticks in my head. But no, I could not remember the vast amount of what I learned from my exams.
The problem with learning by rote. You're much better off, like a good librarian, learning how to retrieve the information so you know when you need it, that you've got it in a safe place, although and it's all good.
Even you, Tim, have to admit you can't do that in an exam.
You can in, for example, an open book exam, which is why open book exams are interesting.
But not closed ones. Anyway, let's not get on with that. Tim and I, if we were live streaming, we could just carry on all day, literally. Couldn't we just have disagreements
well, the only problem is I need to move because my chair is annoying me. Because IKEA screwed up their delivery. Right, that's it, Naomi, isn't it?
That is it. We've covered everything. We've run out of time.
Yeah, we're going to go to an unexpected Naomi. And then
do you think we're enjoying ourselves too much, Tim?
I think we are. Well, who's doing next week's live stream, by the way? Have we decided?
It's Study Fest.
So is it all three of us?
I think all three of us are doing it for a bonus Study Fest.
We're gonna
unless
be so
you don't
busy.
want to. Oh, we could only just have two of us doing it.
We'll need to see, because I haven't seen your timetable yet for Study Fest.
I emailed it around yesterday.
Oh, great.
So you may not have seen it, but
so
I've sent it you.
Anyway, people. Shall we go back and wave? We're going to go back and wave.